Hey, what's up, everybody? So we're back here with Chris Bartl from Bartl Strength and Conditioning, and we got some great stuff today. And Chris is going to teach us some cool exercises that are going to be not only functional, but help us optimize our fitness routines. Chris, what do you got for us?
Today, Jesse, we're going to work on phase one of what I like to call hip hinging. Learning to really use your hips will lead you into other movements that are more advanced down the road. Stuff like Romanian deadlifts and kettlebell swings. The problem with those movements is trying to teach beginners right off the very beginning is they try to use their back instead of using their hips. So what we're going to do today is go over some basic cues to teach you how to use your hips by starting with just a body weight hip hinge and a couple little techniques that I like to work with my clients to help them understand how to push their hips back so we can minimize the stress on our lower backs.
Absolutely. And if you guys don't remember from previous videos, Chris showed us in the squat and the deadlift how just vital your hips were for doing those movements properly. And there's a huge difference in my ability to do it and the power I felt when I was doing it and when I could feel my hip muscles engaged and not. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it.
So what I like to typically have my clients do is come up with their butt right against the wall. And we're going to be using the bar today as our wall. So Jesse, I want you to face that way and back all the way up so you're touching the bar, okay? And trying to get a nice big straight spine, okay? And now I want you to take about a 6-inch step forward, okay? So this is going to be our starting position right here. Now what I want you to do is put your arms across your chest, okay? And all you're going to do is hinge at your hips, not bend at your back. I want you to hinge at your hip and try and push your butt back until it touches the bar, okay? Good. Once you feel a bar, squeeze the glutes and come forward with the hips. Okay, let's do that 3 more times. Notice how Jesse's keeping a nice slight bend in the knee. You don't want to ever lock your knees doing this exercise because it'll put a little bit more strain on the lower back. And again, we're trying to load the hamstrings, load the glutes and the hips. Good. Okay? Now, 6 inches isn't a very big step. He was very much able to get his hips back and easily touch the bar, aka the wall. So now what we'll do is we'll have him take another small step forward, about another 6-inch step, okay? And now do the same thing. Cross your arms, okay? Keep a slight bend in your knees and try and push your hips all the way back until you feel the bar. Okay? Go ahead and stop. And go ahead and come all the way up. And go ahead and try one more time. This is actually a really good example. Watch Jesse here. Notice how he's starting to round a little bit through here. Notice his back starting around. Go ahead and stand up. So this is why I like to have people start up against the wall. Now take a step backwards. So what's happening is his hips are stopping and it's becoming more of a back movement. So we're going to back him up a little bit. Again, slight bend in the knees and keep pushing the hips backwards until you feel a bar. Get a nice arch in your back. There you go. And now pop forward and squeeze the butt. You always want to squeeze the glutes to bring the hips back. Okay, that's a very key point. Go ahead and do it about 3 more, Jesse. So he's pushing the hips back, squeezing with the glutes to get the hips to come forward. Okay? So every time his hips keep pushing back, he's going to feel a nice stretch in his hamstrings if he's really tight specifically. And all of the force of this exercise is all right in his hips and his hamstrings. We're really minimizing the amount of strain that's on his back.
Yeah, I don't feel it in my back at all.
Good. Let's take about a really small step, so about a 1-inch step. And now we got to find that spot where you really have to push back and really work hard. Okay, really try and arch that lower back. Keep pushing back, push back, and up. Good. Let's do about 3 more. Keep pushing those hips back. Good. 2 more. Hips back. There we go. Hips back and up. Good. So now we kind of have a good spot where we know Jesse, if he was a client, that with this against the wall, this is going to be his starting point. From here, this distance is going to be a good teaching spot for him and for me as a coach to know, okay, this is a good distance for him to start because he really struggles if he's any further away to really push his hips back. So we would work on this distance until you're more comfortable and you're not going to be so reliant on your back. Then we can take another 1/2 inch or 1 inch forward and keep pushing you away from that wall and teach you to keep pushing and pushing those hips back.
Yeah, and I could feel the difference. As Chris was cueing me to really concentrate on my hips, I could feel my hips doing a lot more lifting, and I could feel my stomach muscles turn on and everything. Now, Chris, what about for everyday functional use? Why is this hip hinge beneficial for us to learn?
Well, a lot of the times you'll hear or you'll see people who have thrown their back out because they drop something on the ground and they haphazardly just bend over at the waist or bend over at the back to reach down and to pick something up. The back is a very volatile part of the body, and if you don't treat it right, you can injure yourself. So by teaching people how to hip hinge, you're teaching them how to use their hips instead of their back. So it's more of an injury prevention thing. And also, it really helps you to learn how to sit down. A lot of people just kind of plop back into a chair. Well, if you've ever, had somebody pull a prank on you and yank a chair out from underneath you, what's going to happen? You're going to fall completely backwards.
Yep.
Well, if you do a hip hinge first and you clear out, you're not going to fall completely backwards. You're still going to fall, but at least you're not going to fall backwards and have your hands or your feet go up over your head.
So the moral of the story is hip hinging is not only good for lower back pain, aches and pains. You guys who are going like this all the time, learn to hip hinge, but it's also going to keep you from being the butt of the joke at a Super Bowl party or something else. Get it? Butt of the joke?
Got it, yes. Another good thing that I like hip hinging for is by putting the focus on the hips and the hamstrings, your supporting back muscles all of a sudden become secondary muscles. So if they're weak and they're not as strong as your hips, just by really working on that arch and keeping your back tight, you're going to work all those extensor muscles all along your spine so you can slowly and safely build up the strength in the back all the way through the spine so we can, again, try to minimize those back injuries.
Awesome, Chris. Anyway, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys in a little bit for another little video.